Okay, so what's going on here? I'm going to print a Voron Cube. It's going to take about just under 10 minutes. And the 90-degree corners have greatly improved. You squeeze that air off a little bit. They've greatly improved with servo tuning. So the servo tuning was way too soft on the proportional and integral. So I had to use the tuning software to look at the deviation and then just start to tweak the proportional until it kind of wanted to overshoot or have some vibration. Then I played with the integral, and now I can't talk. We'll just let this print. It's not perfect, but it's came a long way from the initial print with using auto tune on the servos and then just letting it ride. So now I'm getting, and how I came about this was I did some ADXL tests, and I was shaking the machine at 1000 XL per hertz, and the machine was not shaking. So I wasn't getting any readings on the charts because it wasn't shaking it. The drive was too soft, and therefore it just didn't move the machine. Probably hard to hear me, but I gotta have that fan cranked up a bit higher using this duct. And this is not crazy fast. Like I said, 10 minutes. I think I'm right around 30K acceleration. There's a range. Infill is at like 50, and internal I think is at 40, and external I think is at 25. I don't want to just blast the heck out of it just yet. I really need to see what's happening. What we call baby steps, you know, one step at a time. Right now my pressure advance is sitting around 0.018 at 0.02 smooth time, and this is ABS material at 275C with some excessive fan. you hear when the servos are hitting it, you'll hear this little jingle noise. Sounds like loose parts. I think what I really need to do is print that at 200%. That'll really show the walls. It'll get a bunch more flow out of the hot end. And then we can kind of look at the layer stacking. But I have to pull up some of my old prints and use those files that I've already tweaked and tuned with this machine so I can have a comparison of the difference in quality or the artifacts that show up or what have you. I guess without those other files and knowing that they worked, it kind of helps me quite a bit to move forward with making changes or, you know, identifying potential issues. Tried to read quite a bit about servos and 3D printers, and most of the feedback that I saw was not good. Complaining about, you know, either encoder resolution or the same drives on the same axis and fighting each other and having problems, and I can believe that. I don't doubt that. But the servo tuning software or the available parameters for you to use to tune the drives is really important. So if you end up with a system that has very little features, and again, I'm not saying that there are very little features in some other system, but there can be, and how well that tuning software or that drive is designed can affect quite a bit the outcome of your parts. And I'm not saying that, you know, step-around line servos are great, perfect, and all that. I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying them out. There are better ones or more costly ones. That doesn't necessarily mean they're better. They can be. I mean, like a Yaskawa Sigma drive, I'm sure is you know, close to top of the line. So, you know, you got to kind of work with what you got. And so far, these guys they're starting to work out. I think maybe in another month, things will get even better. Right now, I still have some problems, but I think they can be solved. Alright, so there it is. Let's kind of see what it looks like. Yeah, these are starting to look better and better. There is a little strangeness up near the top here. some strangeness. So, it's not too bad. Really not too bad. So, PA has an effect. Drive tuning has an effect on PA pretty considerably, it seems. Now, here's the vase that I printed. It was one of the first prints that I did. And if you look here, in between these webs are two distinct waves. And I didn't remember those waves being there when I printed these before. And I usually print these about so high up as a test, you know, maybe 20 millimeters, you know, 15 millimeters. And then I use these bottom parts as like trays to like hold parts in, you know, like little screws and stuff when you take something apart. They're kind of handy for that. And I looked at those and they didn't have those two waves in there. So I kind of concerned that these waves are from servo tuning, and they certainly are. So you can really see it right there, see? Okay. So I played with let's see here, with some drive tuning, and I've got most of that worked out. Not quite yet. So I've still got some more tuning to do to fix that, but it certainly is going to come along. So this is the first one. This was the I think this is the sixth cube that I've done, and initially they were pretty bad. The 90-degree corners were bad. The layer stacking was bad. I haven't used a printer to print since I've been working on these servos, and the filament has been in a filament dry box, you know, the entire time. But I'm in the garage, and the box is not completely sealed, so some humidity does get in there, and it does affect the filament. And then once I print about, I don't know, 20 feet of line, you know, it starts to clear up. So anyway, it really appears like these servos are going to work. I after seeing this cube and the 90-degree corners and the lack of VFA, I'm pretty sure, I'm highly confident that this is going to work, but it's going to take some effort with some more tuning and a better understanding of exactly what one parameter does over the other. So I'll have to get into that, and then I may work on some macros to have the printer do some move functions while I monitor it in the software, and I can actually make gain adjustments on the fly. I may try that. The only kind of problem you can have with that is if you put a wrong value in while the machine is moving, those servos can get violent quick. They can start to bounce and overshoot, and then just sit there and oscillate, and then just go into a frenzy to the point where you just got to find the off button. And so I don't really like the idea of live tuning. What I've been doing is I've been setting a certain jog speed on the printer, and then I command it to move 100 millimeters, and then I watch the software and I look at the deviation as it's moving. And if I'm moving at X speed and I have a deviation of 500, you can start to increase the proportional gain and lower the integral, and then you can go back and do the same test again and watch the deviation, and it may move down a couple hundred. And you try to get that as low as you can without getting overshoot as you move. You know, you could tell it to move 10 millimeters, and when it stops, it does a little bounce or shakes or whatever, and you don't obviously want that. So you got to get it close to the edge, but you don't really want it on the ragged edge. You don't want it to oscillate and cause those problems. So it'll take some time, and it's going to come along, and I'm pretty stoked about this working. So anyway, hope you enjoyed.